My name is Gaia Athena, and in this video I'm bringing you part 6 of my 2020 reading statistics. In this graph, the first graph of part 4, it is the type of book. So we have novel, and most of my reading in the past 4 years has been novels. And I don't have any data before 2017, unfortunately. Then we have a short story or short stories. We have omnibus, we have novella, we have information. We have biography and memoir, picture book, play, art, and combination. So like I said, the majority of my reading is generally novels, but I also read some short stories from time to time, books coming from an omnibus, so usually novels coming from an omnibus. Because if it's a short story book collection, then that goes as short story or short stories. This graph is about the page numbers. So we have a blue that is less than 250 pages, orange, which is between 250 and 500 pages, and then we have grey, which is 500 plus pages. And I have mostly been reading short books for the past 6 years. And not that many long books anymore, not many 500 plus pages books. And I think in part that is also because graphic novels and graphic memoirs and manga and comics and illustrated children's books tend to not be over 500 pages. Most of them are less than that, are even less than 250 pages. Here we have page numbers, but then in a little bit more detail. So we have at the bottom less than 100 pages, and then between 100 and 199 pages, 200 to 109 pages, etc., etc. Yeah, I mean, this is similar to the previous graph, but then it's showing a little bit more detail. Yeah, it's changing a little bit over the years, but also not like hugely, so not a lot to say about that, I guess. This graph shows the seasonal reading, which is not really that interesting, but most of the books I read are not specifically related to any season. And now we get to the graph, which shows in a bit more detail. So here we have just the seasonal reading plotted. So in 2020 I read 14 Christmas or winter themed books, 3 autumn themed books, 11 summer books, and 2 spring books. I tend to read usually more winter books or Christmas books than anything else, but not always really by the looks of it. I do like to, in November or December, read some Christmas themed books. That's something that I try to do each year. Summer themed books are usually books where the character goes on a summer holiday or stuff like that. I associate it with summer. Though for any season, the book in my mind can be classified as that season if the season itself and the weather and such plays a larger role in the book. So spring themed, not a lot of those, but that is also, for example, if Valentine's Day has a bigger role in the book. And autumn is often horror books because Halloween is not a big part of the Netherlands. It's something more that's come over to the Netherlands from other countries. But yeah, because internationally, like on BookTube, for example, you hear a lot about people reading horror books in autumn. So then we get to cover color, and I'm quite proud of being able to get the colors like this in this graph, so that the color of the column actually matches the color that it is, if that makes sense. So we have white in sort of light grey, we have black in dark grey, we have red in red, orange in orange, yellow in yellow, etc. But then that is when a cover is not just one color that is more there than everything else, but there's like 2 or even more colors than that are taking up about the same amount of space. Then I'm calling it multi, which is kind of like a gradient thing that I made. And then we have non-applicable, that is for ebooks which don't have covers. For example, like some free short stories on Lotus websites, stuff like that doesn't always have a cover. I really like looking at this. Interestingly, I think for all the 5 years that I have been tracking this, I really like blue. But blue is my favorite color, so I'm not surprised that I tend to also gravitate towards books with a blue cover. I'm sure out of all the books I own, there are also more blue covers than some other colors, because that's just something that I like. We also have quite a few multi-covers. So in 2016 we didn't have that many of those, but then the last 4 years there have been quite a few of those. Sometimes it's just, yeah, there's not one color that jumps out more than the rest. I do also really like though covers with like multiple colors and stuff. So, and then we get to spine color, which that's similar as the previous graph, but then about the spine color. Again, non-applicable for ebooks, as ebooks don't have spines. And we have multi for those spines that just have one color. And then all the other colors again. And I think it's interesting to see, because I never really thought about that, but for example, black spines, there are a lot more black spines than black book covers in my reading. Now obviously my reading is not representative of all the books being published or anything like that. But I just think it's interesting. And here quickly we have the two graphs above each other. I don't know if you can see this all that well depending on your screen size. But I just quickly wanted to show them like this so we could see the difference. I actually said just now that there were more black spines than black book covers. But actually when I look at the 2020 graph that has 33 black book covers versus 36 black book spines, that is not quite the case. However, it is true for 2017 and 2019, for example. So basically what I was just saying, not quite correct. This blames me. I should just look at everything before I start talking. But yeah. Also in 2019, for example, I had a lot of green book spines, but not as many green book covers. Lots of books also have a different color on the cover than the spine. And with cover I mean the front cover of a book, not the spine or the back. Then we get to this graph, which is amount of words in the title, which I think is possibly the most nonsensical graph I have. Because this really, I haven't heard of anyone else who tracks this. It just started as a curiosity on my part, and I've just been tracking it. I just fill in a number based on how many words are in the title after I finish the book. So yeah, it's not that interesting to look at it progressionally throughout the years really, but I do find it interesting to see, like, out of 1 year's reading, how often do certain long titles happen, sort of thing. So for example, in 2020, more than 80% of my reading had between 1 and 5 words in the title, whereas longer titles were less common. Stuff like that. Yeah. Well, that's a nice nonsensical note to end on. Thank you very much for watching part 6, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!